And that put Ryan Reynolds in big trouble with his statement. Hi and welcome to Flow Some Talk. I'm Sashti Flo, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood working as an entertainment reporter. And as you know, a lot about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal feud that is never ending and it's getting worse and worse by every day. And today is a big day. Today is the day Blake Lively is going to be deposed by Brian Friedman. We don't know if she's going to show up yet because she has a history of having great excuses for not showing up to things. When she was shooting It Ends With Us, she was sick a lot. Her kids were sick a lot. A lot of things were going on in her life, so she couldn't show up on set. So if she comes up with an excuse for Brian Friedman today, I wouldn't be surprised. Another big thing that's happening today is that it is the deadline for Justin Baldoni to amend his complaint against Blake Lively. He still has 4 claims that he can amend, and so he can save part of his lawsuit against Blake Lively. And the thing is, so many things have come up lately that he could have used in his lawsuit. This is really devastating because a lot of this evidence that we've seen the last few days maybe would have made a difference in the judge dismissing his case. One of the things that I hadn't even thought about myself, that I saw someone talk about on Instagram. I don't know who this person is. Someone reposted this reel with this girl talking about this. So I'm sorry if I don't credit her. So this girl was pointing out something really interesting that I've missed. So on Friday or Saturday it was, I think, I spoke about this NPR interview that Megan Thuy, the New York Times reporter, did with a reporter called Ari Shapiro or something like that. In this interview, which I talked about already, she said that the smear campaign was much worse than the actually alleged SH. Well, Megan Thuy was saying that Blake Lively had told her this. So this was information coming to her, straight to her, from Blake Lively, which has other implications that I talked about in my video, in my previous video. So if you missed that, I'll leave a link below as well so you can watch that. But here's the new twist. So Blake Lively said that she had experienced much worse in Hollywood than what actually happened on this set, meaning that it wasn't really that bad. What was bad, what came after the smear campaign that she thinks that I was a part of, and a lot of people, all of you creators out there were part of this smear campaign against her. And of course, a lot of bots as well. Something that she will never be able to prove because obviously we all know it never happened. Anyway, what's interesting here is that Blake Lively herself said that this wasn't really bad. And that put Ryan Reynolds in big trouble with his statement, something that I didn't think about here. Because remember, Ryan Reynolds came out and called Justin Baldoni a predator. He put this word in front of it, which I don't think I can say on YouTube without getting demonetized, so I'm not going to say it. Anyway, so he called him that out in public, and he admitted that he had called him that in his motion to dismiss against Justin Baldoni. And he said that he could say that because it was freedom of speech and he believed him to be a predator. Okay, how could he have believed that he was a predator when Blake Lively was saying that this wasn't bad at all? So according to Justin Baldoni, this statement is what made WME, his management company, fire him. So he said that this allegedly happened in July 2024 at the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere, that Ryan Reynolds had allegedly approached WME and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, suggesting the agency was working with a blah, blah, blah predator. So then instantly they fired him. And as we know, Ari Emanuel, who used to be the CEO of that management company, came out in a podcast where someone forgot to press rec on this podcast, but his quotes were leaked. So we know that he said these things. Very suspicious, by the way, that podcast, that someone at this big podcast in a live audience in a theater, I think this was recorded and someone lost it. But luckily there were other people there that actually recorded this. So it leaked to the press that Ari Emanuel said that he always trusted Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and he was basically saying that F Justin Baldoni. So of course, Ari Emanuel would never have fired Justin Baldoni if it wasn't for Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. meaning that he has actually caused damage to Justin Baldoni financially and reputationally. Can you say reputationally? By reputation. So could this actually have proved actual malice, which was the big question and the reason why his case against Ryan Reynolds was dismissed, because they said that he couldn't actually prove malice. It's very difficult to win these defamation cases, as you know now, after we've seen that his case was dismissed with so much evidence. But this proves that Ryan Reynolds acted with reckless disregard of the truth. He intentionally exaggerated Blake Lively's experience because, of course, he knew that Justin Baldoni wasn't a predator. And with this statement here in this interview, Justin Baldoni could actually prove that. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, as you know, but I think this is a very, very interesting point, and I hope that Brian Friedman can bring this up somehow. I think a part of the things that he can amend in his complaint is against WME, that they actually fired him. So this is amazing evidence. It's so interesting to me how this came up after the case was dismissed. She also said that she never wanted to go public with this information, meaning that she's contradicting herself when she said that Baldoni was a danger and he needs to be exposed. She never believed that. And what she's saying now, that she got all this support from other victims when her experience wasn't that bad and she never wanted to go public with it. What made her go public with it? Well, she's saying that it was because of the smear campaign that she did to herself. Anyway, as I said, today is the big day of Blake Lively's deposition, and she probably, I don't know if she's going to show up or not. As you know, Blake Lively had this victory lap when Justin Baldoni's case against her and Ryan and Leslie Sloan and whatever was dismissed. And as I said back then, that would be a golden opportunity for her to drop the case. And I think a lot of people were speculating if she would. And it would have been probably the best time for her to do that, because she could say, you know, I proved my point here. His case was dismissed. I don't want to put my family through more of this. It's been so exhausting and terrifying for all of us. But now time has passed and it's too late for her to do that. I think if she would withdraw her case today, she would look like a coward and a liar. And we would all see that, okay, she's doing that because she doesn't have any evidence. If she did that when he dismissed his case, things would have been a little bit different for her, and she could have come out of this looking more decent, wrong word. She could have come out of this trying to pretend that she was the winner. Today, she can't do that anymore. She just have to keep doubling down, which is what she's doing. And for us to sit and watch her doing this to herself, I mean, yeah, it's crazy times, you guys. Anyways, also Shaista sent me this. Thank you, Shaista, for sending me this and reminding me of this podcast, The Daily, that the New York Times had. I talked about it on my show when it happened. I think this was like 2 weeks after the article dropped, and Megan Twohey was interviewed by their own podcast. Wow, no critical questions there. And she talked about how she was, you know, worked on this case. And a thing that she said was, which was interesting here as well, is that she said, Lively says that when they returned to work after, you know, the strike and everything had happened, and she had asked Baldoni to sign this agreement of 17 points, that was 30 points of that he should not stop behaving like the way he did and blah, blah, blah. She said that Baldoni's behavior improved with these new protections in place. And then the interviewer here is asking Megan Twohey, it sounds like the situation was handled relatively well in the end. I mean, she asks for certain things to happen, they happen. And according to her, the situation on set is better. So she said that they're basically saying here that when Blake Lively approached Justin Baldoni and said that he'd need to stop behaving this way, he did stop behaving the way that she was accusing him of behaving, which we now know that he didn't really do. And he only signed these points because he wanted to get back to work. And he knew that if Blake Lively left the movie would be in big, big trouble and maybe never be made. So he had to. He was blackmailed into this situation, as you know. So then Megan Twohey continues here to say, yeah, I mean, I think that by her account, this was a situation of problem identified, problem solved, everybody moves on. But while she doesn't have any other allegations of misconduct, once they come back to finish making the movie, they do end up having major creative differences. And she says here that Blake Lively ended up editing her version of the movie that Sony went for, blah, blah, blah. But she's basically saying that everyone moved on and it wasn't a big problem. Another video that has started resurfacing again is when Colleen Hoover is interviewed by this reporter, and she's asking her about the controversies of choosing Blake Lively for this part. And Colleen Hoover starts talking about all the backlash against Blake Lively. And this was in 2023. So this was way before Justin Baldoni could ever have started this smear campaign about Blake Lively. They were on good terms at this point. Nothing going on between Blake and Justin. As we know, we've seen their texts in the beginning. They were like really collaborating well, and they had so much love for each other and respect for each other. But what she's saying here already, Colleen Hoover is taking the blame for the backlash that Blake Lively is experiencing at that point.
I was hoping, you know, when we announced the movie that people would be excited about it. Didn't think that it would, you know, spawn all these TikToks about it, and that people would be so passionate and angry about, you know, some of the casting choices. You know, like the aging up of the characters was my fault, you know?
Yeah, she says it's her fault that she didn't think clearly when she was writing this novel that a neurosurgeon, which Justin Baldoni was playing, wouldn't be like in his late 20s, because you need to have a long, you know, you need to study a lot for becoming a neurosurgeon. So he would have been older. And that's why they also choose to make Lily older, which doesn't really make much sense. I mean, there's a lot of men that date a lot younger girls. And I think, to be honest, I think it would have made the movie more powerful if they did that, because she would probably be a little more impressionable. I don't think it makes it more relatable or more believable that they're closer in age, but whatever. So then Colleen Hoover says that, yeah, so then she changed things up and, you know, wanted to make Lily older as well. But my point here is, she experienced a lot of criticism already back in 2023, and she can't blame Justin Baldoni for that. As well as she can't blame Justin Baldoni for being rude to me in 2016. Although that's also what she's doing when you think about it. It's so ridiculous. Anyways, you guys, I will keep you updated as soon as there's any news in about the amended complaint or about Blake Lively's deposition. So stay tuned. This week is probably going to be a little bit crazy. I think there's something brewing, as I said on Saturday. And yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. Keep sending me tips. I love it. You guys are amazing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps my channel. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flawsome Talk. And I'll see you soon. Bye.